Police in Missouri now say they have recovered 5 Barbie dolls that had traces of fentanyl on the back of the packaging. It happened here at a discount store called Cargo Largo.
We are talking about a cross-border operation spanning 15 states, flooding our streets with over 250,000 counterfeit pills and 22 pounds of pure fentanyl powder. Federal agents in Oregon just dismantled a sophisticated pipeline that moved millions in narcotics from Mexico by hiding them inside household cereal boxes and children's toys. This is no longer just a drug war. It is a direct, calculated infiltration of the American home, turning nursery rooms into distribution hubs. The scale is unprecedented, the methods are demonic, and the danger to our children is absolute. If you value the safety of our families, hit like and subscribe. Help us bring these stories to light.
Have to act fast to prevent this from happening to other parents. How can one puff kill you?
The nightmare begins in the most unsuspecting place imaginable, the family pantry. For months, federal investigators under the banner of Operation Hollow Harvest watched in horror as a sophisticated logistical machine pumped enough poison to kill millions of people across the continental United States. This wasn't just a group of street dealers, this was a high-level cell of a transnational criminal organization that had mastered the art of the Trojan Horse. By utilizing Oregon as a tactical Northwest hub, these traffickers exploited the state's quiet transit corridors to move massive quantities of fentanyl sourced directly from the Sinaloa and Jalisco cartels. The sheer depravity of their methods has sent shockwaves through federal law enforcement. Imagine a shipment of popular brand-name cereal boxes that millions of American parents buy every single week. Inside, beneath the sugar-coated flakes, lay vacuum-sealed bags containing thousands of sky blue M30 pills. These aren't just drugs. They are chemical weapons pressed into the shape of legitimate prescription medication. But the horror didn't stop at the kitchen table. In a move that DEA officials describe as purely demonic, agents discovered that the organization was also using plush children's toys, stuffed animals designed for toddlers, as high-capacity transport vessels for pure fentanyl powder. Think about the implications. These toys and food items were moving through the same mail streams and delivery trucks that carry your holiday gifts and household essentials. Federal indictments reveal that the syndicate managed a sprawling 15-state web stretching from the dusty border crossings of the Southwest to the rain-slicked streets of Portland, reaching as far as the East Coast. Every time one of these toy packages was tossed onto a porch or loaded into a van, the risk of a catastrophic accidental exposure climbed. A single tear in a plastic bag, a small leak of powder from a teddy bear's seam, and an entire neighborhood or postal facility could have been leveled by a mass overdose event. The scale of the Oregon pipeline is staggering. We are talking about a seizure of 22 pounds of fentanyl powder. To put that in perspective, a mere 2 milligrams a grain of salt is a lethal dose for the average adult. For a child, it is an instant death sentence. This operation didn't just seize drugs. They seized the tools of a silent massacre. Prosecutors are painting a picture of a criminal enterprise that viewed American lives as mere collateral damage in their pursuit of a $45 million profit margin. They weren't just selling to addicts. They were infiltrating the domestic supply chain, betting that no one would think to look for the angel of death inside a box of breakfast cereal. As we dig deeper into the evidence, the question isn't just how they did it, but how many of these hollowed-out toys are still sitting in warehouses or on delivery trucks across the nation tonight. This was a calculated strike at the heart of the American home. Behind the curtain of this suburban nightmare lies a chillingly efficient corporate structure that functioned more like a Fortune 500 logistics firm than a back-alley drug ring. Federal investigators reveal that this Oregon-based cell was the brain of a multi-state nervous system. While the public sees a box of cereal, the cartel saw a sophisticated stealth container capable of bypassing thermal scanners and K9 units. This was a high-stakes shell game played with the lives of millions. The defendants didn't just stumble upon this method, they perfected it, creating a ghost supply chain that mirrored legitimate e-commerce giants. The logistics of the Oregon pipeline were built on a foundation of absolute deception. Using encrypted communication apps and burner satellite phones, the ringleaders coordinated shipments that originated deep within the laboratory strongholds of Mexico. Once the raw fentanyl was processed into powder, or pressed into those lethal blue M30 pills, the packaging phase began. This is where the cruelty of the operation truly comes to light. In clandestine warehouses, traffickers sat for hours, meticulously emptying legitimate commercial products. They weren't just throwing bags and boxes, they were heat-sealing narcotics into the linings of toy packaging and industrial-grade cereal containers to mask the scent from drug-sniffing dogs. The financial heart of this beast was just as massive. We are looking at a shadow economy that moved tens of millions of dollars back across the border. Every cereal box successfully delivered to a stash house in the Midwest or the Atlantic coast represented a six-figure payout. The sheer volume of currency being laundered through front businesses, ranging from used car lots to shell construction companies, suggests that this Oregon cell was a primary artery for cartel wealth in the Pacific Northwest. Prosecutors allege that the profits from these death toys were used to fund even more high-tech smuggling equipment, including specialized drones and underwater submersibles, creating a self-sustaining cycle of addiction and profit. But perhaps most terrifying is the level of counter-surveillance the group employed. They didn't just hide from the law, they watched it. The feds discovered that the syndicate had been monitoring police frequencies and using GPS trackers to ensure their special deliveries weren't being intercepted. This was a chess match played against the DEA, with the traffickers using the safety of Oregon's shipping hubs as their primary chessboard. They calculated that by blending into the mundane, everyday flow of American commerce, they were invisible. They banked on the fact that a mail carrier wouldn't think twice about a heavy box of Sweet O's or a bulky teddy bear addressed to a residential apartment. This arrogance allowed them to flood 15 different states with enough chemical poison to wipe out the populations of several major cities combined. As the Part 2 evidence unfolds, it becomes clear this wasn't just a local bust, it was the disruption of a continental engine of destruction that treated your neighborhood as its private distribution center. The final takedown of the serial killer syndicate was a synchronized strike that felt more like a military operation than a standard police raid. In the pre-dawn darkness of a rainy Oregon morning, tactical teams and federal agents breached multiple high-security locations simultaneously. What they found inside those stash houses was a scene of industrial-scale horror. There were no drug dens in the traditional sense. Instead, agents walked into what looked like a perverse toy factory. Workbenches were littered with the disemboweled remains of stuffed animals, their polyester stuffing replaced with bricks of pure fentanyl. Kitchen tables were stacked high with hundreds of empty cereal boxes, waiting to be filled with the blue pills of death. This was a factory of sorrow, running 24 hours a day to meet the insatiable demand of a 1-5 state distribution network. But the most gut-wrenching discovery was yet to come. As forensic teams processed the evidence, they realized the true depth of the traffickers' depravity. Some of the seized narcotics were rainbow fentanyl pills dyed in vibrant candy-like colors. When combined with the toy smuggling method, the intent became crystal clear to every parent in America. The cartels are no longer satisfied with just reaching the existing market. They are actively grooming a new generation of victims. By disguising a lethal chemical as a childhood staple, they lowered the psychological barrier of entry. A teenager might find a stray pill in a cereal box and mistake it for a vitamin or a candy. In that moment of confusion, a life is extinguished. This is the demonic innovation that has federal prosecutors seeking the maximum possible penalties under the law. The fallout from this case is sending tremors through the halls of power in Washington, D.C. This Oregon bust has proven that our domestic shipping infrastructure is being weaponized against us. The 8 individuals now facing federal charges represent just one tentacle of a much larger monster that views the American border as a mere suggestion. U.S. attorneys are now pushing for these crimes to be prosecuted under enhanced statutes, usually reserved for domestic terrorism. Why? Because the goal of this organization wasn't just profit, it was the destabilization of the American family. They turned the symbols of safety and innocence, the morning meal, and the bedtime toy into delivery systems for a mass casualty event. As the sun sets on this investigation, the DEA issued a chilling warning to every household in the country. The Oregon pipeline may have been dismantled, but the blueprint remains. This case serves as a brutal reminder that the front line of the drug war isn't just a fence in the desert, it's the doorstep of your home. It's the mail you receive, the products you buy, and the toys your children play with. The 22 pounds of powder and 250,000 pills seized are off the streets, but the shadow of the cartel looms larger than ever. We are in a fight for the very soul of our safety, And as these 8 traffickers prepare to face a jury of their peers, the message is clear. The American people will no longer allow their homes to be used as a playground for poison. The war has come home, and the cost of losing is a price no parent can afford to pay. The sheer audacity of this serial killer ring has redefined the stakes of the fentanyl crisis. While 8 individuals are now behind bars, the grim reality is that they were just gears in a much larger, more predatory machine. This case proves that the cartels are no longer content with staying in the shadows. They are brazenly reaching into our pantries and our nurseries. They are gambling on the hope that you aren't paying attention. They are betting that their Trojan Horse tactics will stay one step ahead of the law. But today, that bet failed. This massive seizure of 250,000 pills and 22 pounds of pure powder is a victory for our communities. But it's also a call to arms. We must remain vigilant. We must talk to our children, scrutinize our deliveries, and stay informed about the evolving tactics of these criminal organizations. The line between a normal Tuesday morning and a national tragedy is thinner than we ever imagined. We will continue to track every development in this case as it moves through the federal courts. For Crime Justice File, I'm your host. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next investigation.